You know, there's been a lot of talk lately about the waste that so far has been found in the $787 billion stimulus bill. I opposed the stimulus bill because I knew it wouldn't stimulate anything. And sure enough, since passing it, our unemployment rate has increased to just under 10%. Now President Obama's Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner is telling us that unemployment will likely increase before it gets better. Now, while we should expose wasted taxpayer dollars at every opportunity, it's no surprise that at least $15 billion of the $787 billion stimulus was wasted. But let's put that into perspective. Even more egregious than the stimulus vote was the vote on the $700 billion bank bailout bill, the TARP vote, a vote to give $700 billion to an unelected bureaucrat to do with what he pleases, with no accountability. It opened the floodgates to an era of unprecedented federal activism. After TARP, it seemed that Washington no longer had any limits. The government was empowered to try and do anything it wanted. After the $700 billion TARP, we had the $787 billion stimulus, the government takeover of the auto industry, a $1 trillion takeover of health care, and hundreds of billions of new spending. After TARP had seemingly entered an era of unlimited government. The $700 billion in TARP used taxpayers' dollars to bail out AIG, Citibank, other banks, and the auto industry. But people have forgotten about the $700 billion bailout. As part of the recently signed financial regulatory reform law, the distribution of bailout funds was brought to an end. Now that the books are closed on TARP, we know exactly what was spent. Total outlays were $491 billion. Hopefully more will be paid back, but as of today, only $198 billion has been returned. That leaves $293 billion. By comparison, the $293 billion still outstanding dwarfs the $15 billion of the waste in the stimulus bill. The bottom line is that spending in Washington is run amok. Under President Obama and the Democratic leadership in Congress, the federal government's public national debt is now $13.2 trillion. That means that America has accumulated more government debt under President Obama than under every president in America's 223 history, from George Washington to George W. Bush combined. Are you listening? You know, President Obama and his Democratic House and Senate have accumulated more debt in a year and a half than in our nation's entire history. And now they are trying to raise taxes. Look, we don't have a revenue problem. What we have is a spending problem, and it's got to stop. If you're paying attention, it will stop after the November elections.